Hello and welcome to this webinar where you will learn everything about how you can use Foleon as a flexible layer for your website. It's something some of our really successful customers are doing really well, and a topic that hopefully a lot of you will learn about today and are able to decide if this is something you want to start implementing as well. You will learn how the web strategy works, the different aspects to take into account if you want to move forward with this. In total, will take about 20 minutes. The chat is open. Marina and us speakers are in the chat, so feel free to ask your questions. If anything is unclear or maybe you're unsure of something, just throw it in there and we'll help you get clarity around it. We do have two really great guest speakers with us today. It's Richard Francis, the VP of Marketing and Business Development here at Foleon, and Veronica Lane, Senior Customer Success Manager, also here at Foleon. And Richard knows everything about the strategy. Veronica knows everything about customers that do this really well. And we will absolutely show you multiple examples to give you a sense of what does this look like and how does it work. So Richard and Veronica, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you here. And as this is quite a new topic for a lot of us, Richard, could you maybe start by giving us a bit of an introduction of what do we mean by using Foleon as a flexible layer for your website?
Yeah, definitely. So really interesting topic, this one. So happy to be here and join in this time. Because I talk to a lot of customers, and this is definitely something I hear coming up time and time again. And the interesting thing about it is it's perhaps something that most or many Foleon users might not immediately have thought about when they were buying the access to the platform and thinking about how they'd put Foleon to work. I mean, obviously a lot of people are primarily focused on digital asset creation, thinking about, creating microsites for things that might have lived as PDFs in the past. But as you mentioned, Lobka, a couple of times, some of our most successful customers have really integrated this into their website strategy. It's a great topic to talk about. And Veronica's here as well and can really take us through a couple of great examples as well, hopefully bring it to life a little bit. But the first thing to say to start with, why is it even interesting to think about this? Well, the reality of Foleon is that it is essentially an HTML5 CMS system, lighter than what you might think of as a full website CMS, a Joomla or a WordPress or whatever else. But essentially it is a very easy to use tool that can help you to build website grade experiences. And what's really, really interesting about it is the fact that because it is no code, but at the same time offers a lot of flexibility in how you can design and organize your content, it gives you an opportunity to have a very lightweight approach to creating additional online experiences around your website. And what we know is a lot of businesses, in much the same way you might experience a bottleneck in the design resources, whereby, someone who perhaps in the past lent very heavily on Adobe to create PDFs for brochures or proposals or magazines, whatever it might be, often maybe couldn't get everything done that they wanted to do because maybe the design resources, the expertise required to use a platform like Adobe was maybe blocking. And whereas Foleon removes that bottleneck by making it easier for non-specialists to create content, a lot of businesses have the same struggle with the website. Often there will be a small number of highly specialized people with the skills necessary to be able to develop and maintain and make sure that web pages are managed in the right way. And if that is a bottleneck in terms of capacity, that can stop marketing or other teams who are building content, leaning on content. It can stop them from being able to do everything they want to do. And of course, at Foleon, that's super important for us. We don't want there to be any bottleneck in your content plans. Everything you need, we want you to be able to build it at a fantastic level, get it out the door fast, and make sure it's contributing to your strategy. So for these companies, the ability to build this additional layer around the website, really good looking, highly engaging digital experiences that don't need to be done via the web team, but can be built by teams in other parts of the business, that's really, really valuable for them because it gives them a lot of agility and a lot of speed and helps them to get through that backlog of work that they might not be able to if they're having to go to the web team to get it done.
That is so interesting. And thank you for sharing both the technical side as Foleon also being HTML5 documents online or pages online, and also the practical side of what bottlenecks get removed if you add Foleon as that flexible layer. Well, in terms of how customers are using this successfully at the moment, Veronica, I'd love to hear from you in terms of customers that are doing it. Like, if you want to go all out with this strategy, what would that look like? And then throughout this webinar, we'll zoom in and out and show the bigger examples and a little bit more like easier to access. But let's bring it on. And what would that look like going all out?
Yeah, so going all out, that's exactly what KBR did. It's one of the more extreme examples that we have where they replaced a lot of the information on their website with Foleon documents. And for those who don't know who KBR is, they're a global consultancy engineering leader. They work with NASA, the US government, and really just everything across aerospace, defense, energy, and technology. So of course they want to have a really impressive website, but they also want to have really good content within it.
Anyone that would have visited kbr.com pre-October last year would have landed on a site that had 400 plus pages of incredibly dense content. It was content buried within content, and it was really hard to get to where you needed to find things, right? And the real intent of our website is actually to recruit, so to hire the best and brightest employees. Most of our customers know who we are, and they're not going to our website to get to us. But so we did a revamp of the website, looked at it, and decided we just needed a much more simplified experience. And so we actually took all that content buried deep within the website off, and we moved it to individual Foleon deliverables or documents. And basically, each of the business units have a Foleon with their capabilities, and it's just such a great experience. We did an API, worked closely with the Foleon team, and then with our agency in Houston who did the website. And so you jump off to the Foleons and you're able to get to the content very easily, search the content, and really are able to navigate it in a much better way. And you're not stuck like digging through 400 pages to find something. So we're really proud of the new experience.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, and I can share my screen and show you what that really looks like in practice. So let me begin sharing.
Really interesting example, this one, of course. So KBR, huge company, very, very dependent on their website. But as Veronica's going to show you in a minute, what they've done is really, really slimmed down the core of the website that lives in that primary CMS and built this large, flexible shell around the outside. And again, as Veronica mentioned, the ability to have the ownership of that content at the teams that are generating the content and have them not only make, but publish and manage the material that they're adding to the website, that's drastically simplified and speeded up their process. So they've got a huge amount of content on there, but the time to create, deliver, optimize, and manage all the assets that they've got around the website, they've slashed it dramatically by being able to pick up a lot of these website journeys in our platform.
Yeah, and so as you can see, as I scroll through the website, it's a really nice, clean and simple design, but then each of the business units that they have these separate documents that you can then go into and explore further. So as we opened up the integrated solutions deck, it went into a Foleon document, which has that beautiful design, really easy to update and filled with that dense information for that person looking to find it. And they actually did work with our team to have an API to get this on their website so that it is very easily searchable and meets all of the criteria that they needed for it to be truly integrated with their website, which isn't always needed, but they did take a few steps further.
This is a great example. And just for everyone's understanding, how do you now identify whether you're in a Foleon doc or on the website?
Yeah, so as you can see right now, we're on the website. And as we click into each one of these squares that they've designed, each one of those is Foleon docs. So as I click into this, you'll see it does load a new page, and that is where you basically have a different Foleon document. And typically you can tell it's a Foleon document because of the navigation that is what we tend to default to within Foleon. So
That's great. Yeah, and Richard, what would be those main reasons why people would add Foleon as that flexible layer? Because couldn't you just do this on your regular website?
Of course you can. And some CMSs offer, quite a lot of degree of flexibility and really good templating these days. But of course, it is often the case that you might need more technical skills in order to be able to manage and keep that content updated. Again, as I mentioned, it might be that there's not a huge amount of resourcing available to make all the changes or add all the content that the teams that want to update the website want to be able to deliver. So that bottleneck is really a key thing. But of course, what Foleon will also offer you is a lot of flexibility in terms of how you present that content, which you may not have in your CMS. So, as our viewers may realize themselves, depending on what they make, whether it's an annual report or a sales brochure or a proposal or whatever it might be, whether you go linear or whether you go more for a microsite structure, what you do with overlays, there's a lot of flexibility in how you present that content. So you can really craft a very unique and highly engaging experience for people, as I said, without the need to get into code. And ultimately, really, once you're working with templating, things like our brand kit to make sure that content always looks and feels exactly as it should do without people having to worry. Things like global modules, which will make sure that if you have repetitive content over multiple assets, you only have to manage and update it once if you need to change everything. These are the things that add up to make sure that people who aren't necessarily design experts are able still to run that full life cycle of the content. They can build it, they can publish it, they can keep it up to date, they can make sure it's operating in the right way. And that's incredibly powerful, because then you go from a small number of people who are perhaps highly skilled managing a website, potentially to a much wider audience across the business that can contribute. And that's only going to make your website more dynamic and richer and more engaging.
That's amazing. And the results for KBR are definitely there. Veronica, just to sum that up, what can we learn from KBR?
Yeah, so I think to go back to what Richard was saying about that long-term agility and being able to have the website work great over time, one of the highlights for them was also that if they were to ever redo their website and that main landing page, they wouldn't have to worry about updating those other sites as well, which they found to be really cost savings for them in the long term. Simplifying the site, really giving less is more. They have those templates that they work off of in Foleon, so it really does enable everyone on their team to help with the website. And yeah, that bottleneck, really removing the additional bottlenecks that they have. And yeah, basically just saving time and making sure that they can easily update the site, which is needed for a company that is constantly making changes and improving, and they don't have time to be slowed down.
That's amazing. Yeah, so KBR is of course the extreme example by they removed a lot of their website pages and created them into Foleon docs. Can you give us a company that is using Foleon as that flexible layer that drive efficiency and agility for them, but maybe a little less extreme?
Yeah, I was going to mention IPSOS, and they're a global market research and consulting firm. And so thought leadership is really important to them. So they have a section on their website that I can also share to show you how they're doing that.
Yes, please. That's great.
Yeah, so I think they are a good example of maybe not going quite as far as KBR have done, but maybe carving off a piece of your website, a major use case, and saying there's actually a lot of value for them in saying, well, we're not going to manage that via the central web management team, but we're going to give control of that to the people who are actually building and running the content. So they do a lot of thought leadership stuff here, research, white papers, reports. And for them to not have to lean on the central web environment to get this put on the website, to have it there so that people can consume it, that they can be very reactive. Okay, what is happening with our content? What are people reading? How are we going to leverage that for the next things we make? How are we making sure we're building our content in the right way? They've again got a lot of agility. So they've taken this part of the website that they're continually working on, continually looking to publish new and interesting content for their core audiences, and they've given it to the people who are building the content themselves. So again, it's that agility and just building real speed into the process, which is what you want, right? Particularly when you're trying to get a lot done, and it's important to be always up to date and always ahead of your competitors. Being able to lean on Foleon for a piece of the website like this can be really, really valuable.
Yeah, this is a monthly series that they do, so need it to be very quick and up to date with what really is trending. So that speed is so important, and they're not sacrificing the design. They are getting those additional analytics, so it's a really great use case.
That's amazing. Yeah. So again, they just link to a Foleon doc and same look and feel. Yeah. As a visitor, you wouldn't notice that you've left, what's happening on the back end there. Great. Richard, I'd be very curious to hear what is possible with a CMS versus what's possible with Foleon.
Of course, we've got the whole analytics piece in the background as well. That's what you will also get from the full CMS. We can do the integrations piece as well, so we can help you understand, who is reading your content, what are they doing in there, but also take that data and feed it into any other systems that are going to make sense, whether it's marketing automation, whether it's building profiles in your CRM. We've got the API connectivity, of course, which you can use to link Foleon to a much wider range of tools. So in terms of that, really building a digital profile of your reader and leveraging that information across other tooling, we're going to offer you that in the same way that the rest of the website will.
A question that gets asked a lot: how does this impact your SEO strategy, or maybe your LLM?
So
how does it all influence each other?
Indeed, that is normally what comes up when we talk about this with customers. Of course, when you are busy with digital content on the website, you are, of course, by definition, thinking about your organic presence and trying to drive organic traffic to the website. Now, depending on how you use Foleon, the answer here changes a little bit. What I would say is, although, of course, if you don't host it on your main root domain, it won't directly contribute to the authority of that domain. What we can do via a reverse proxy, a little bit technical speak, but we can set it up that your Foleon doc will contribute to your core domain. So not only are you going to be able to increase the speed and efficiency of the process and building the content, we can make sure you don't have to sacrifice anything in terms of putting effort into new content and then not having it contribute to your SEO. That's obviously something people don't want to do, but that it's not necessary that you have to choose. We can make sure that all the effort that you put into your Foleon docs also counts towards your core ranking. And what I would say even more on top of that is that, as we all see how LLMs become more important and people are going to the large language model more often to get answers, maybe not even navigating to websites anymore if they've got the answer they need by asking ChatGPT or whatever it might be. The need to be found and influence what those models provide as information is, of course, critical now. And if you're not producing and delivering content in a way that's easily consumed by these models, you are going to be at a disadvantage of people who are doing that well. And a Foleon document is very well positioned to help you with that. So the way that we build our content up, the digital footprint of that Foleon doc, is designed in such a way that it will really optimize how that information can be picked up by these models and give you the best possible chance of the content that you put in your Foleon docs doing as good a job in the LLM as it is doing with Google in terms of trying to send people to your site. So really, really important, and something that I think we're really proud of the way that we've built the platform, that seriously differentiates us from other digital content creation tools.
Absolutely. We'll hear more about that a lot very soon. In terms of maybe in like next steps for customers, definitely talk to your customer success manager. But before we get to that, Veronica, do you have another example of how marketing teams use Foleon before we go towards the closing?
Sure. Yeah. We have a great example from OPG, which is the Ontario Power Generation, and they're a corporation that is clean electricity. So they have to produce a lot of ESG and annual reports. And they have used Foleon as a layer to their website in a different way than what we've shown before. So they have actually embedded it. So let me share my screen so you can see the alternative option.
Yeah, so you can either link to the Foleon doc or embed it on the page, right?
Correct. So in those previous examples, they were linked and they were taking us to separate pages, whereas right here, we're on their main website, but we're actually looking at a Foleon doc. So as I scroll, this is a Foleon document that was created in Foleon and then embedded on their website. So in this example, it's actually a one-pager, so it just makes it really easy to scroll. But yeah, still you get all of those great data elements and that same concept of just removing that bottleneck so that you can create it in Foleon and then just pass it along to the web team to embed, which makes things much easier. So they did a really great job. It looks very beautiful and it looks so seamless with their website.
Absolutely.
Have linked to a full report at the top of the page, but has lots of great information.
That's great.
I think really nice example of the challenge that I think a lot of organizations have. Of course, you have a marketing team that is responsible for the lion's share of the content that's being produced and delivered by an organization. But there are other places in a business or an organization that are also busy with content. So in this example, think maybe about a corporate communications team that maybe is responsible for a company annual report or carbon accounting or whatever it might be. And very often those teams don't have specialist design or content creation capacity and are often reliant on passing their work, along the chain to somebody else who's going to do it for them. Now, that can be slow, cumbersome, challenges with feedback, versions, etc., etc. If you're able to give teams like that access to Foleon, that they can take on more of the process themselves and build their own content using templates, that can not only take workload away from central teams, but again, it can dramatically speed up the process. And you can see, looking at that example there, right, fantastic looking bit of content. It feels seamless with the rest of the website. And potentially that is the sort of thing that, smaller teams that might not have the necessary skills to sort of operate in the traditional sense suddenly can become content creators and can really contribute to the overall content footprint of the organization.
This is amazing. Well, is there anything else, Richard, Veronica, that you would like to add about this topic?
I think just one more example, Alka, if I do have a minute to show an example that goes into how HR teams have also used it to support their website. So as Richard was saying, all of these teams leverage the website and HR is definitely one of them, as we talk through with KBR using for recruiting. We also have this example from Kleinschmidt. They're also an engineering firm. And so as we look at their website, they link out to their job postings. So when you click this Find a Damn Job link, it will take you to that Foleon doc where they're also really easily able to update those listings that they're looking for, which is something that's also ever evolving. And so it's really easy to keep that up to date and gives a great overview of their culture and can really paint a picture for someone looking to get hired with them. So great resource, and goes back to the ties of this can always stay consistent even if they're doing other changes to their main website.
Yeah, great example. Again, in line with a little bit what I was saying just now about these teams that have a real reliance on the website, have a lot of content, things changing often. Recruitment's a great example, right? Particularly for larger organizations, all sorts of job listings coming, going, lots of content being shared around roles. Again, if you can give an HR team more control over the process so they can manage it more of it themselves, that's only going to help them to make better use of the website, in addition to taking workload away from other people. So it's just about spreading the load, really, without sacrificing on the quality. And I think there's a fantastic opportunity for a lot of Foleon customers out there that maybe aren't doing that at the moment to think slightly differently about the platform that they've got. Because if you're not thinking about it like this, there's some great opportunities there for you.
That's amazing. Richard and Veronica, thank you so much for joining. You've both shared so many insights, and also thank you for bringing all these different examples. I'm pretty sure that really brings this topic to life. If you're online and you're really curious to see how this could actually benefit you, your customer success manager is the go-to person who can serve as a consultant and advise your team and your organization on best to roll this out, set it up, and achieve those benefits like efficiency, agility, and just speed. So respond to the poll question if you haven't already, and let us know that you indeed want the customer success manager to reach out to you. And otherwise, you're always welcome to reach out to us as well. We're here to help you. Thank you for joining this webinar. Please talk to your coworkers and discuss the topic of using Foleon as a layer for your website to see if that sparks an interest internally as well. Meet your customer success managers, and we are hosting webinars regularly, so sign up and we'll see you at the next one. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you at the next webinar. Thank you.